According to a survey for RTL Radio, 57% of French people expect President Emmanuel Macron to win a majority in mid-June's parliamentary elections. The same percentage also want Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne to be removed. The poll, which surveyed just over 1,000 people, added that whilst 57% did not want Borne to remain as Prime Minister, 68% don't want rival far-left politician Jean-Luc Mélenchon in the post either. Now, the poll did not indicate who the French public want to see replacing Borne. It also showed that 6 out of 10 people could not name their local member of parliament. The parliamentary elections take place in 2 rounds of voting on the 12th and the 19th. Macron needs a majority to help him push through his planned pro-business reforms. For some analysis, we're now joined by French political commentator Hamid Chriet. Hamid, good to talk to you. A lot has happened since the presidential elections. Emmanuel Macron won, and he seemingly has set himself up to have another victory in the parliamentary elections, or is it not so obvious?
Well, I believe it's not very obvious for the current president, Emmanuel Macron. The parliamentary election, I think there's a huge doubt for this parliamentary election, particularly about the candidate, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who said that they will have a 3rd round about the parliamentary election. I think there is a kind of a majority for the left party that there is a possibility for Jean-Luc Mélenchon to win the elections and to be a prime minister. We know that also recently Emmanuel Macron was re-elected. He has ordered a probe for an emergency unit in order to about the sector, the healthy sector, which is warning now. We've seen the health workers demonstrated in cities across France on Tuesday to demand a higher pay and more staff for service, which is a stretch to breaking point. And just day before the country votes in parliamentary election, so there is a kind of a huge and uncertainty of political instability in France, and I believe the Mélenchon's party, of course, can win this election.
Right. The last time we spoke about polls, it was a presidential election, and they actually ended up being quite accurate. Why do you think that they might not be so this time around? Because those same polls are suggesting that people, yes, they want Borne out as a prime minister, but they don't want Mélenchon either. So what's giving you confidence that these polls might not be getting it right?
Well, polls, first of all, polls are not accurate. According to many research, there is one membership of the French Parliament, which did report about the polls and how they influence people by not giving the really research or really questioning people. This is the first thing. The second thing, I believe the second point is the polls. It depends on on the polls. I think people do not believe in polls. It depends which question are you asking people. So polls are not very objective. It depends on how you ask the question. And I think the majority of the French people now, they are going to vote for this parliamentary election, which are very important for them. And we've seen on May 2022, the France Greens Party, Communist Party, and Socialist Party, all of them agreed to form an historic alliance with the far left, La France Insoumise. And I believe this is, can give a majority, despite its small number of members currently. They have been very active. They had been very active, the LFI, in 2017. They have 17, membership of the parliament. And we've seen that there were 16 motion for the resolution and tabled more than 60,000 amendments which have been established by the LFI party for the commissions of inquiries and intervene thousands of times in parliament. So they are very popular for the French people, and French people follow this party. We know that Jean-Luc Mélenchon is the one of the famous in the French parliament. His YouTube channel is the first, YouTube channel, political YouTube channel in France. So this is give you an indication on how the Mélenchon candidate is very famous in France. I believe there is a possibility of this party to win the election. We've seen that Emmanuel Macron refused during the presidential election to debate with Jean-Luc Mélenchon. He knew that the Marine Le Pen candidate was not able to debate with him, and he knew that Jean-Luc Mélenchon will, of course, destabilize him if he would accept, of course, the debate against Jean-Luc Mélenchon. And I believe this all kind of major things can, of course, change the Macron scenario. Also, the Ukrainian invasion, the Russian invasion in Ukraine, we've seen the inflation, which has been infected the French population. This all impact can, of course, change the game, the political map, and the game in this next French parliamentary election, obviously.
So conventional wisdom is suggesting, though, that as much as the left is on the rise, it's not rising enough. And what will happen is that Mélenchon's group will definitely gain, but not enough to win. And all that it will do was prevent Macron from getting an absolute majority in Parliament. Could that be a likely scenario?
Well, this is, of course, is the liberal commentator who said that, but I don't believe so. I believe that the Mélenchon's party can, of course, obviously win this election and change and give more reform. Do not forget that Emmanuel Macron is the candidate who wants to, of course, increase the rate of retirement to 60 to 65, which is very unpopular for the French people. Do not forget that we had the Yellow Vest movement, which have been protesting in France during more than 8 months, which was very instabilize the French institution, the regime, and the parliament. So I believe this atmosphere, environments for the political map can, of course, change the situation. Macron wants to, has taken many proposals from the Mélenchon's party, which are the planification of the ecology, the reform of the constitution. Do not forget that Mélenchon is the candidate who proposed, a sixth republic. So I believe this all kind of things can, of course, give, a huge change and reform. I believe now Mélenchon, was very, intelligent and clever to, made and did a campaign in ground to, underground to ask people, to demand, to take their recommendation and suggestion in order to, participate them in the French democracy, which is not the case with the current president.
Hamid, at the last election, I think even President Macron acknowledged that his victory was partly a vote against the left, not so much for him. Why would people vote differently this time around? What's the difference in the dynamic in the parliamentary elections compared to the presidential elections?
Well, people, they've realized that they voted for Emmanuel Macron. And I would like also to clarify a very important point. Emmanuel Macron, in the second round, he has benefited, of course, the, from the electors of Mélenchon to, in order to fight the extreme, right party, which is Marine Le Pen. That's why Emmanuel Macron was elected. So do not forget this very important point. I believe now people, they realize that their situation did not change now. And I think they can, of course, penalize this French president in order to vote for Mélenchon and to have, of course, a change, a huge change. So people are very impatient to, stay in the same situation. The minimum salary in France is 1,300 euro. So the inflation, have been increased. All prices in the shop, 1 liter of oil is now 5 euro. the prices of 1 liter of oil was about €1. So now he increased to 5. So these all, factors, of course, will favorize Jean-Luc Mélenchon.
All right. So historically, when we look at modern day France, there hasn't really been a situation where a minority government is in play. Usually the president's gathering coalition or president's party also runs parliament. If this does happen, what could be the consequences? One of them, I guess, would be he'd have to have a prime minister that he doesn't want.
Well, I think the current president has to, of course, nominate and the prime minister. I think is the deal that Jean-Luc Mélenchon did. Historically, we have a Republican tradition, which is when we have a majority in the French Parliament, the president, just nominate the prime minister according to the majority, and the majority will decide, of course, who will be the prime minister. So I think the current president will, of course, accept the Mélenchon as the prime minister, and he will not have a choice because he's, of course, a Republican tradition in the French institution.
All right, and so your prediction, very quickly, Macron loses and Mélenchon is prime minister.
Well, I think, my prediction is that Jean-Luc Mélenchon, of course, it could be a prime minister. Of course, it will be tough for both candidates, as such as Emmanuel Macron and Jean-Luc Mélenchon. But there is, of course, a possibility for the candidate, the Mélenchon candidate, to win this election and to be prime minister and to have the majority in the French parliament. All
right. Hamid, merci. We'll talk again after the elections. Merci. It'll be interesting, and I'm going to play back some of your tape of the predictions.
We will see the result.
Thanks so much. Take care.